Hey everybody, what's going on? Hellmite here, bringing you another video from Grab the Lantern today. Today I wanted to talk about the Rammus pre-rework that's currently on the PBE and get our thoughts on the subject. And I brought in a good buddy of mine, Gloves Guy, who mained Rammus for the longest time. It's a champion he's played quite a bit, so I figured may as well bring him in and get his thoughts on it. Say hi, Gloves Guy.
Hey guys, I'm just happy to be here.
All right. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, Rammus does have a rework up on the PBE. We've been going through it at just what they're doing to the champion. So I just wanted to get your first thoughts on it because I kind of like the direction they're going with it, but I know you're not a fan. So
Okay. So since we first talked about it, I have had time to sort of let it sink in a bit, and there are like things that I'm happy about, and then there are things that I'm like about, and then there are things I really am really worried about. So I like that his ult slows now. It loses a lot of damage, but it slows, which is really nice because Rammus needed another form of CC because he had literally just his taunt, which can be cleansed really easily, and it makes him feel more like a Vanguard who's not. He's always felt like a hybrid Vanguard assassin because he only hits the ADC and then hopefully kills them, and he doesn't have a lot of initiation otherwise. So it's nice to have that a slow on his ult, which can be a really strong slow. And then, of course, it deals double damage to towers now, which is also really nice because it means he can siege easier. But what I don't like is that they changed some of his changes just feel unnecessary. Like his shield slows him by 60% now. I didn't understand why they did that.
I mean, I think the idea was that, kind of like Gargoyle Stoneplate, to reduce the frustration with dealing with Rammus, where he presses W and basically became invincible, but still dealt a lot of damage. In fact, it gave him a damage boost because of how Spiked Shell worked.
Right.
Where it gave him damage for his armor. So it was sort of a case of, and when you're pressing W, you're committing to being in the middle of the fight with your tremors on. It's shifting Rammus away from being sort of the AD diver type champion that he kind of currently is into being more of a Vanguard. He goes in, he initiates, he gets a crowd control down, he starts the tremors, and then he sits there and becomes invincible, right? So
yeah, I mean, I guess I get that, so that he can't run away and be at the same time. But I know his shield is strong, but especially with the way they nerfed it, which they nerfed it in the early game, it's actually going to be stronger in the late game because it's percentage based now. But with the way they nerfed it in the early game, I feel like his early game is really shit now, because his Q can be interrupted with CC now. His shield slows him and has way less flat increases, so it's going to shield him for a hell of a lot less early. And you can't even max it anymore to really increase it that much. It's going to increase based on items. So I actually don't know what I max first anymore because Powerball doesn't. They nerf the damage on Powerball significantly. I guess Frenzying Taunt, because that gives you an attack speed boost now, which
yeah.
that felt a little weird.
Yeah, I don't know about this. I think it's because they want to shift it into, like, basically they wanted to make Spiked Shell something you actually had to think about using and applying, and they wanted to give Rammus more to do in a fight than walk in, taunt a guy, and then kind of walk around doing ambient damage. I think the idea is to keep Spiked Shell, or keep Frenzying Taunt going as long as possible, and you can do a significant amount of damage, because remember, DBC, while it's active, Spiked Shell deals 150% damage, and deals Spike Shell damage back to enemies that auto-attack him, which is a significant amount of damage, and it still kind of plays him up in the kind of anti-auto-attack place he's supposed to be.
He's still... Yeah, and the thing, I know when I was talking to you about it earlier, about how I felt he was more in a siege position. The reason I said that is, one, his ult now deals double damage to towers. I mean, it's going to do even more damage to towers than it used to. And two, now he can roll in under a tower. He can pop his shield, which is going to give him more durability than it used to, taunt an enemy, and then he gets an attack speed bonus against the tower.
Right. I mean, I think at the same time, though, remember that his ultimate damage was just about halved, so I think the reason it deals double damage to structures is because they want it to be its regular values.
Was it? At max value, at max rank, it went from 120, 195 to 30%. to 120, 20%.
Okay, so it does do slightly more damage at max rank than it used to, but I don't feel like...
Assuming you're not building AP, which you shouldn't be.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like it wasn't the case of we want him to be a siege mage. I think it was just a case of we want this to still be effective against towers because that's something people like about Rammus. I don't feel like that was a case of we want him to be really good against towers. We want him... I think though that Frenzing Taunt... I think the problem with it is you can't proc the attack speed without an enemy champion there because you can't taunt minions anymore.
Yeah, it will. Okay, here's another thing that I like about it. It will increase his clear speed significantly.
Yes.
Which is almost why I'd max it first, because then you can clear a lot faster.
Right.
And you still get, I think, a 50% on your shield. It still scales off of 50% of your armor and MR, so that's nice. That should let you at least be more survivable.
The other thing I wanted to mention for your consideration, too, is that, so, obviously the biggest problem you have is that he goes in, he DBCs, and then he's slow, he can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
But because you can toggle the ability off, if you go in, you get the taunt, you DBC, and the enemy flashes or something, or cleanses out, you can press W again and get your movement speed back to chase them down afterwards. The other thing is, the cooldown is reduced to 6 seconds from 14.
Now, okay, that's another thing. They reduced the cooldown on his Powerball and on his shield at max rank to 6 seconds each.
No, it's not even max rank, it's across all ranks.
For his shield, yes.
Yeah.
For his Powerball, it's at max rank. It's 6.
Right.
So yeah, that's really nice. He's always felt like he had a really long cooldown, so it's going to be nice to just be able to at late game, you can toggle between the two and have 0 downtime. You're either in Powerball or shield, provided you don't run into somebody early, of course. Right. So that's nice, but sorry, were you going?
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say that again. It's sort of the case of once he gets in the fight, he especially doesn't have any way out now because Powerball is a channel, so it gets interrupted if you get hit by crowd control. So it's less good at continuing to chase someone down in the middle of a fight, and it's less good at getting out of a fight. But the advantage it does have for Rammus is that he will almost constantly have defensive ball curls benefits in the middle of a fight. I mean, I can definitely see you go in, you use defensive ball curl, you have your ultimate running, which remember the slows stack. So
yeah.
And then when DBC runs out, you gargoyle stone plate, so you take almost no damage during that effect. And then by the time that's done, defensive ball curl is back. So
you know what? I actually think I know why they have on there on his DBC, and I think that's because when his ult's on, if he gets multiple stacks of that on somebody, they're not going to be able to run at all.
Yeah.
I mean, at max rank, it's a 12% slow, stacking up to 8 times.
Yeah, which is pretty significant. I mean, you're not going to be going anywhere. So sort of the case of you have to bail from the Rammus immediately. If he could walk around in the middle of your team with impunity, that would be pretty...
Everyone's going to be slow as fuck.
It would make him impossible to get away from. So I don't know. I feel like... I honestly feel like the Rammus rework is going to make him a lot more strong than he was. The biggest thing for me is just that it will take a lot more of a learning curve because his playstyle isn't so much go in, taunt the ADC, press W, and then kind of walk around doing ambient damage. It's now a lot more like go in...
It's a lot about positioning, going in on the right person, placing yourself in the point where your ult can do the most. And you don't have an easy out anymore. So once you're in, you're... Not that Powerball was ever really an easy out with unit collision.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I do feel like in general, they pulled power out of his other abilities and gave him an ultimate that actually feels like an ultimate. I mean, I think beforehand,
true.
You just kind of hit tremors when you go into a fight. You didn't even think about it. You were fighting, you hit R. There's no thought process behind it. So I feel like because his other abilities are slightly weaker than they were before, I'll say that much, especially like Frenzing Taunt and things. Tremors...
I wouldn't say Frenzing Taunt. I'd say Powerball is probably the weakest.
Sure. But Tremors does feel like a better ability. It is more ultimate-like. In fact, I would not be surprised if they nerf the cooldown on it going forward, because that's really, really good.
To have every 60 seconds. But he only has it every 60 seconds at level 16.
Sure.
And I think he's going to need it, because getting into a fight is going to be really... That's the biggest thing I'm concerned about, is that he gets knocked out of Powerball by CC now, and Powerball is slower at early ranks. And it lasts less time. Yeah,
but I feel like it does have the potential to get faster because it is plus 5% per level, so in the late game...
And it'll scale up faster in the late game.
Well, remember,
for a champion who already had trouble going in, I mean, a Morgana binding, RE Charm...
Sure.
Boom. No engage.
Well, sure, but I feel like with the 145 flat is pretty good movement speed early on. I don't think you
He
can.
used to get 155 flat.
No, it was
Early on.
155%. It was 155%. You're just getting 140.
So am I not doing the math on that right then?
I believe you're faster in the early game with just flat movement speed. Maybe
I don't think that's flat. I think that's a
done...
percentage.
Huh?
I felt like that was the percentage.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. But I feel like, honestly, you're going to be faster early, and because your percent per level is going to scale with the flat, I don't think you have anything to worry about with the speed so much. And so I think in the late game, that is part of like the marks of a good Rammus is dodging the skill shots as you try to get in. It's not like a Malphite ultimate where you just kind of run directly at them and press R. So it is more of a skillful thing, but at the same time, a Rammus that gets in, if you find the god flank and get in the middle of the enemy team, you're invincible because defensive ball curl, which still shields you for a lot. In the late game, it's the percentages are going to really stack up, and then on top of that, you have the almost perma slows on people thanks to tremors. I mean, that could be really good. That could end. That could game change fights just as easily as a Malphite ultimate on 5 can.
Yeah, I guess I can see where you're coming from there. I still have my doubts and my worries, but we'll see when it comes out.
Yeah, we will. We will. I do think that it's something we'll have to play with, but for now, I'm hesitantly optimistic. I know you're a little bit more cautious about the changes.
He's my baby. I don't want them to ruin him.
Yeah, I got you. I'm hoping what this does is make him a little bit more viable, especially up in the top lane, and give him better play patterns besides walk-in EW. So, anyways, that's going to be it for us today. Thank you guys so very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on the new Rammus down in the comments section below. I would like to see. You can see the whole change list on the PBE and on Surrender at 20, so go ahead and take a look at that. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like. If you really enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. I upload a video every Monday, Friday, and on patch days as well. And go ahead and pop on over to Gloves Guy's channel. He uploads League of Legends content and some AMVs as well, so that will be linked down in the description as well. Once again, thank you guys so very much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I will talk to you all later.